Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. The March of Time Travel rolls on as this week we cover Safety Not Guaranteed from 2004. I'm your host, Adam Porters, and joining me today, he too has been described as sexy, affordable, and with killing power. Please welcome the Hartford Hellion, Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet.
You're just not a quality hire.
And he's just nifty now that he's 50. Welcome, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I'm not afraid to prove it.
No, he will prove it all over this episode, left, right, and center. I don't know. I will.
Just so that we're stopping all of the 2 emails we'll get on this one. Safety Not Guaranteed is 2012.
2012. What? I wrote. I guess I didn't change that bit from the last program. Or no, that maybe I'm thinking of ahead. I don't know what I did. I screwed up. Everybody. It's from 2012. I'm a liar. If it was 2004, it'd be a much, much different movie if you take the ages of the people that are in this and then you wind them back.
It'd be very weird that you'd be lusting after Aubrey
2000. That math don't math up. Not the way that you want it to. We're talking about Safety Not Guaranteed from 2012. The toughest part is we're going to be going, is it Trevino? So Sean, this is your week here. Safety Not Guaranteed. What brought you to this form of time travel for this week?
This is one of those secret treasures of a movie. This is one of those movies that if you're trying to figure out a movie to have on within mixed company, this is a great one to do that with. This is also a great date movie. This is also a great movie if you're like just looking to pass time. This is one of those movies that you can watch it as little as you want and it's fun to watch, or as much as you want and you will be rewarded for doing so. And so that's why I like this movie so much. And I think that the performances in this movie are so singular. I think that just about anyone would tell you that this is Aubrey Plaza's best movie, that it's
Mark Duplass?
Thank you. Mark Duplass's best movie. And most people would say that Jake Johnson's best role is in
Jurassic World.
Probably.
You got it.
Well, I mean, you know why he's in Jurassic World is because of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the things that Colin Trevorrow is really good with, is he brings his friends along with him.
Yeah, he keeps his peeps in tow for sure.
He does, and it's really cool. And it's one of the things about this movie is that it's the reason why they gave him big budget stuff, is because he knows how to shoot a movie. Even this movie, it could have been very boring. But it's not, even though it's basically about people who don't fit in and everyone's kind of sad all the time. And it's still really fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. Like this is basically time travel as sadness is basically the undercurrent of this movie. And I love it. I think that it's so well shot. It's well acted. It's well written. It's one of those things too, where you think the arcs of these characters, and you're going to be wrong. I think especially with the Jake Johnson role, Jake Johnson, you think that how that story is going to end, and you're totally wrong. That is not what happens, and it's just so inspiring to me. I watch movies like this, and I go, oh. These are the kind of movies that I like, and that's why I brought it up during our March of Time.
I had never seen this before, so it was a first time watch for me.
Very good. Well, before we get into all of that, we do have to say a big giant thank you to the people that support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those people get the pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, all kinds of good stuff. And also want to thank out people that'll just give out, and I don't know if I did this previously or not, but like I looked in a Venmo, and all of a sudden I was like, where did this come from? And apparently it came from Alex. Alex supports us over at Patreon and just kind of sent me some money. So Alex, a big giant thank you, my man. And awesome. He's up there painting the houses and stuff, listening to HMP, doing all that stuff. Let me guess what he's doing right now. Kind of a beige color in that living room, right?
Beige?
Yep. It's all this kind of like, it's just all this eggshell off-white kind of just really, he complains about it actually quite a lot, that they have this same color in every house he goes and paints now. It's just called, it's just kind of gray, crappy, nothing color. It's just like, yet
for
again.
resale. That's why everybody paints their house gray and white, is because it's to resell it, and then you put the accents in with color.
I think a lot of these people are still living in them, though. I think that's it's
lavender.
It's stylistic.
Everything is lavender.
Yeah, I don't know. You better not be making it lavender. That's a little.
I want the dining room to be doo-doo brown.
Ooh, please. And also check out our buddies Steve and Noah over at the How We Sees It podcast. Those guys support us over at Patreon and stuff too. Their latest episode had some Oscar predictions, and the Oscars are going right now as we record this. Were they right? Were they way off base? We don't know. But check out our buddies over at the How We Sees It podcast today. Those guys help this show. Go see their show as well, man. And of course, if you can support the show over at patreon.com/HMP, like I said, $1 up, whatever this show means to you, throw it back to our way. We really appreciate that. But if you can't do that, at least go over to the iTunes, give us a 5-star review, aka Humdinger.
Humdinger.
We really appreciate it. Let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plot line for Safety Not Guaranteed. As we all know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. 3 magazine employees head out on an assignment to interview a guy who placed a classified advertisement seeking a companion for time travel. Not bad. Not bad, IMDb. Written by Derek Connolly. He wrote the first and third Jurassic World films. Kong Skull Island, great. Monster Trucks, okay, maybe not so much. But don't worry, we got Detective Pikachu. That was more fun than it had any right to be. Oh, but he also had a story by credit for Rise of Skywalker. So, I mean, you can't win them all, you know?
Is there a Monster Truck sequel yet? Because I've been waiting for that.
The man keeps his fingers crossed. He's excited for it. He just wants it to happen. This is directed by Colin Trevorrow, who most famously just did the first and third Jurassic World films. I forgot that he didn't do the second one, but he hopped out of that for a minute, and then they were like, oh, he's coming back for the third one, and that's going to bring us back to, and it's like, it didn't really, though. It didn't quite right that ship, but that goes all. But
there's only one good Jurassic Park movie, everybody. Don't forget.
Yep, it's a Jurassic Park 3.
Monster Trucks, the best Jurassic Park movies.
Finally, Velociraptors are talking. Finally,
man.
Finally,
something about that when I was a kid, though. I knew it was a dream and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff, but I was just like, oh, that was dope. That was really cool. I was that kind of stupid kid who was just like, oh, they're talking. But I also heard the rumor way back when from Ain't It Cool News days and stuff that they were at one point thinking about having dinosaurs in those Jurassic Park movies that not only talked but also used machine guns.
Oh, I like that.
That was an actual thing that was supposedly going around. I don't know. Well, let me.
Have you seen Tammy and the T-Rex?
Oh yeah, now that's fantastic. That's what we call high art. Rent that if you don't have it. Well, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on our second time travel movie of our March Madness, because this sucker's got everything. Before there was Henry, before there was Jurassic World, before the promise of a Star War, the biggest thing Colin Trevorrow ever did was Safety Not Guaranteed. Jake Johnson is in this flick before all of his huge success. It's just a year after New Girl, but ain't nobody watching that show yet, so people don't know about this guy. Speaking of not knowing, I hadn't seen this film since it came out, and I knew that I knew Dupender from somewhere. Karan Sani, you old so-and-so. Homie's got 94 IMDb credits as of this show, and he works with a lot of different distinct groups of people over and over, so I'm guessing that guy's a pretty solid dude, actually. In 2012, I'd already been on the Mark Duplass train for some time. His biggest gig at that point was The League, but I knew him from all the Mumblecore movies, the hits like The Puffy Chair, Hump Day, and he co-starred with future Barbie director Greta Gerwig in Hannah Takes the Stairs. And I don't know if you know this, but that movie is one of the reasons why she didn't get nominated for an Oscar for Barbie. You think Christopher Nolan's ever been naked in a film playing a trumpet? I don't think so. Dignity and lavish parties invites are the only real way to get an Oscar, Greta. Keep that in mind. Oh, yeah, and Aubrey Plaza. You know her from My Dreams, I think. But seriously, why do I have a thing for this woman? Sean's breaking down the movie, so let me break down why Aubrey Plaza why she's no longer taking my mail. Well, number one, she's kind of petite. That's strange for me because I tend to go for the taller ladies, right? Doesn't make sense. I like the dark-haired ladies, yet I do tend to date mostly blondes. Why is that? Doesn't make much sense. Now, I'm a man that enjoys the curves of the road, and she'd be like driving through Oklahoma, so that's not it. She's got giant eyeballs. Why do I like that? Explain that. But I also want to suck on her eyeballs, but not in a creepy Army Hammer kind of way. Just
oh man, there's no non-creepy way to suck on an
Yeah,
eye.
that's pretty bad.
it's metaphorical. Bruce, is there like a name for that problem? I don't know. I like the eyes.
Eyeball sucking? I don't know.
Maybe. I just made it not like really, but kind of. All right. Is it because she's mean? I mean, my ex-wife was mean at times, but is that what I like? I don't think so. I want to be happy. Maybe it's her smile. Her performances have a lot of straight-faced, I'm annoyed with you looks, but when you see that smile with those eyes, the big sincere eyes, damn, that's the killer right there. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just like to work for it. Maybe I just want to make someone happy, and I got just to say, this movie might actually make you think about what makes you possibly happy. This movie's got everything. Sean, let's get into it.
And
Well,
I'll
so
just point out before we move on, though, Aubrey Plaza is a point guard. Maybe that's it.
Oh yeah, you got to keep her up front.
This is this is not a breakdown. We're not doing a scene by scene breakdown. But I did a lot of back matter research on this movie because it made so many people's careers. Like for instance, I listened to an interview with Aubrey Plaza where she got in the exact same week, she got cast in Funny People, she got cast on Parks and Rec, and she got cast in Safety Not Guaranteed, all in the same week.
Jeez.
And she had just moved out to LA to audition for Funny People because she had basically lied to Judd Apatow. It's saying that she was a comedian, a stand-up comic. She was not a stand-up comic. She was an improv comic, but she had like soft shoe and mimed her way into having like 5 minutes of stand-up material. And because, you know, she's cute and she's got a bit of comic timing, she got the job. But because she got that gig, then she was put into auditions for these really big shows, like these really big jobs. And all in 1 week, she got all three of those
That's
things.
insane.
It is so crazy. And, you know, I think that one of the reasons why you probably like Aubrey Plaza so much, Adam, is that she is honest to God, legitimately funny. I think that she tries hard at times, which like can be not great.
Yeah.
When like if you see her in interviews, you can see that she's trying jokes and she sees what's working and what's not working. But there's a whole lot of like misses that happen during those interviews. But when she's on, she is so damn funny. Like I defy anyone to tell me that there's another actress who can do the thing she did and make that just so damn funny, where she puts the soup back up onto the shelf as she's talking to him about time travel. It is that is a singular performance. There's probably 3 people who can do that, and she happens to be one of them. And so, like, it's kind of the thing with her, because I watched this with Lindsay last night, and Lindsay was kind of like, "Is she hot?" And I'm like, I said, "Well, first of all, we're in Adam Portress territory right here. Adam Portress thinks that this is the hottest lady alive." I was like, "Kind of not my jam, but good for Adam. Awesome." Like, love it.
I got a cornucopia of It's Just No One Loves Me Back. I'll take any port and store. What's going on? What are you, ugly? I'll take it. I'm kidding. No ugly chicks, please.
Ladies lined up for eyeball sucker over here.
Listen.
Yeah, no kidding.
I said it's metaphorical. I said it not in the Army Hammer way. Come on.
So, do either of you know where Aubrey Plaza is from?
Northeast. I know her heritage is from Puerto Rico,
Right.
But I think she's maybe from the Northeast.
She is from the Northeast. She is one of 2 famous people to ever come out of the state of Delaware.
Oh man. Gee whiz.
Wow.
I know.
What a breath of difference. between the most famous Delawareans alive today. Well, supposedly alive today. One we're pretty damn sure of. The other one comes and goes.
You know, it's funny, babe, because when I heard that, I was thinking about when I was in Louisville, Kentucky. The two things that they absolutely are in love with in Louisville is that Muhammad Ali comes from there, and so he's on a building, and Jennifer Lawrence also comes from Louisville, and she's also on a building, on the side of a building. And it's pretty amazing that you're like, Muhammad Ali, I get it. Totally get that Muhammad Ali's on the side of a building. Like, you know, hero too many, overcame great obstacles. And then there's Jennifer Lawrence also on a building.
The weird part is they both have basketballs.
Yeah. I think Johnny Depp is also from Louisville, and he's upset that he has no building.
Is he from Louisville, really?
I think he's from Louisville, yeah.
They put me down in the basement.
I did not see him on the side of a building.
But yeah, I think Delaware should put Aubrey Plaza on their state quarter. Like, are they going to do new state quarters sometime soon? That would be great.
What else they got to do? Like, they've reissued the state quarters a couple of times. Like, after 3, what else do you got, Delaware?
I think they should just have Aubrey Plaza and Sweet Joe Biden side by side eating ice cream. That'd be a great quarter.
High five and eating ice cream. Put that on your quarter. In God we trust right underneath. It's like, why?
So I did not realize this about this movie. So Colin Trevorrow and his writer and his producing staff, they get this movie into Sundance. It gets into Sundance, and Trevorrow realizes that the end of the movie just isn't working, and it's already been accepted into Sundance. And so he asks Sundance, hey, are you guys okay if I change the ending to my movie? And Sundance is like, well, we'd have to see it.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have to see the ending. And so he changes the ending, and we're talking like a week before Sundance, like re-edits that ending, because they kind of sort of didn't really shoot the ending that we see. It's all editing tricks, how they make that all happen, the end of this movie. And so he changes it. And I got to tell you, I don't know what the other ending was, but this ending, he was correct. He was absolutely correct to change it to this. The ending of this movie is so satisfying, and it's one of the things where you're like, that has to be the ending of this movie. Like, there's no other way you could make this work. The ending of this movie is like, there's no other way you could do it where everyone's going to be okay with what your ending is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the original ending was just like the look on people's faces, and sort of like a little Pulp Fiction. You don't see what's inside the box. Like, you just see the expression on their face, and you don't really know if the time machine does anything or not. That's what I'm suspecting was probably the original ending.
It wasn't up to the viewer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not up to the viewer. So like,
they disappeared, but they were covered in, but the FBI guys were covered in blood.
Shh. And the other guy goes, shh. Yeah, so Trevorrow, like apparently he's been like this his entire career. You know, that he's like, oh my God, I just had a flash of inspiration, and which is the worst. Like, that is not what you want.
Fun to work with.
Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. So I can only imagine how much, like, the ending was such a surprise that to both Jake Johnson and Aubrey Plaza, when they saw the premiere, they were both shocked by the ending because he had changed it and he didn't tell anyone. And so when they saw it, they were like, what? Like, shocked. But it got such a great response at Sundance that he was already well on his way. And I didn't realize this about Trevorrow. He had done kind of like a junior Spielberg thing, where, you know how everybody knows the story about Spielberg took over an empty office on the stages and pretended that he worked for the company. And people were just like, well, it seems like he belongs. And so they let him just stay there and like learn how movies were made really quickly and all that other stuff. And Trevorrow kind of did the same thing, where he got his friend to send him the letterhead from the college that he was going to while Trevorrow was in high school, and he sent it to NBC in LA, saying, "Hey, can this kid is great. Could you please accept him into your internship program?" And so in high school, he's working as an intern at the Greg Kinnear show. And finally he gets caught. Like, they figure him out, and so they kick him out. And I just find it so fascinating that I don't know whether or not he knew the Spielberg story, but you got to think he had to have known it, and that's why he did the thing he did. But he there's like shades of that with Trevorrow. It's kind of a shame that he hasn't found that thing in big budget blockbuster movies yet. Like, he hasn't found the thing where it's like, oh, that's the thing that he's amazing at. Because everything he's done since Safety Not Guaranteed, in my opinion, isn't nearly as deep and thoughtful as this movie is. Everything else is just sort of like, well, we got to get it out there, everybody. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a means to an end kind of thing. It's like the Jurassic stuff is fine, but it's like it's paint by numbers kind of thing. But you're right. He had that Spielberg kind of like stank on him that like during this film and stuff where they were like, oh, this guy could be the next thing. And that's almost practically why they gave him Jurassic Park, is they're just like, oh, he's got like this Spielberg sort of vibe and stuff. Send him to the park.
To me, it feels like he kind of silently went from an auteur to a hired gun. Like somehow that slid, laterally that way.
I'm to understand he might be a little bit difficult.
It's weird because he's that rare combo of writer director. Like, he can rewrite on set while he's working, and that's so helpful until it's not. But it's so helpful. Like, oh, this thing isn't working. Let's finesse this till we get it right. That's going to save you a bunch of money. But on the other end of that is that process probably doesn't stop, and it drives everyone crazy.
He's like, listen, I'm going to do this Jurassic World movie, but we're going to shoot it like it's a like it's one of these oh my god, I just forgot the director's name in my head. Damn it. The guy did the Best in Show.
Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest. See how funny that would have been if I would have got it correct. Jurassic Park docu, Christopher Guest style. we're gonna give you an outline of what these scenes are gonna be. Couple dinosaurs here and there. You just improv. Have at.
I've got a pitch for you: a Jurassic World movie without dinosaurs. It's just about the people.
You know what? That's almost crazy enough to work. Green like this man.
Some point, Chris Pratt from direction from Christopher Guest. He goes, "I hate these dinosaurs and their stupid ass face." So one of the interesting things about this movie to me also is that the sequence that makes you really love two of these three characters is completely silence. It's not silence. They're just not speaking. You can't hear what they're saying. But it's when when they're in target practice, and you see how much fun Aubrey Plaza's character is having, and you see how much she starts trusting this guy, and it's so well shot and so well acted, and it's conveying everything you need to know, and it's just really great storytelling, and they do it within. How long is that sequence? A minute?
Minute and a half max.
It's not very long, yeah.
In all of the heavy lifting for these characters, something that would have taken just an insane amount of time on some poorly written Amazon show, like Prime show, they get it done in a minute without anyone speaking. And it's the character development that happens in that minute. It's almost like magic how good that sequence is.
Well, I mean,
because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but you can even say that you can apply that statement then even just to the direct beginning of the film where she's narrating her life and everything, and then we find out it's at a job interview, and like you learn everything you need to know about this character in the first 2 minutes. We lay so much groundwork that in a normal film would take you 25 minutes to figure out all this crap, but they do it in an entertaining enough way, and also fill you in on this character who's obviously oversharing with someone that that doesn't need to have this information. This is who this character is. We've just laid it all out for you. Not only her history, but who she is as a person at this very moment. There's a lot of great shorthand that just pushes this bad boy along real quick.
Yep. Real succinct storytelling here for sure.
Do you guys remember when the classified ad was making the rounds that this movie's inspired by?
Yes.
Because I think it was Jay Leno maybe had the bit. That's where I probably saw it, but I know it was mentioned on every morning radio show and stuff. And then when I later found out the story behind it, I was very disappointed that it's actually one of the writers of the magazine just wrote it to take up space. Because it'd be way more interesting if it was some kind of guy doing performance art and sending it in and not affiliated with the magazine, but just the magazine's own writers doing it kind of stinks.
Yeah, having needing to fill those two panels, and so he had he's desperately seeking a woman is the other one, and then the safety net guaranteed. I've done this once before. That's my favorite part.
It feels honestly, it feels like that as a job that would feel like something that I would do. They would just be like, hey, we need to and I would make up some crap and I would fill it in there. It would be something along these lines. That feels very much like an Adam move for sure.
I heard about the ad first on that podcast that no longer exists called Reply All. It's one of my favorite podcasts of all time, and it is no longer around. Anyway, and they talk to the guy, and the guy is kind of he was we're just filling space. We didn't think anyone would pay attention to it because it's, it's not a widely regarded magazine. Nobody's
Backwoods Home is the name of the magazine.
Right. Backwoods Home. That's it. And it's a survivalist thing, right?
I have no idea.
Well, that's great.
It is. It's a survivalist magazine. And so to have that in the back and to have so many responses, immediately before it hit the internet, before it hit FARC, before it hit all that stuff, FARC, that's got to
I was about to say FARC. Hey, holy cow. I ain't heard that in a minute.
I still check out FARC once or twice a week. So
this guy, do you crank up the side of your computer when you do it?
Well, it runs on diesel. So he's got to make sure he's outside.
It's a Lexington, Kentucky-based website, so it's only a couple miles away from here. I get it cheaper.
We can get this little website real cheap. Send over that webpage, will you? Via courier.
They just fax me the web pages
as I need them.
And something that I realized watching the movie this time is that Jake Johnson has. And I think that Hollywood has figured this out about him, but I only figured it out watching this movie. He has that same thing that Bill Murray has, where he can be playing an absolute awful human being and you still like him anyway, because he is truly wretched in this movie for 75, 80, even 90% of the movie. He's pretty awful.
Yeah, he's a turd.
And you still like him anyway. Because it's Jake Johnson, but I went backwards thinking of the other things that I know him from, and it's pretty easy to love him as Peter Parker.
He's great. He's so good. It's one of those things between the writer and him and stuff. It's they get the character of Peter Parker and what it's supposed to be. They understand it.
I'm not a Jake Johnson fan for some reason. I don't know. Just I'm not team Jake Johnson.
Huh. I'm just really surprised that that it took me this long to figure it out. That's his thing, is that he plays pricks that you still like anyway. And that used to be Bill Murray's role. I mean, he did it all the time.
Yeah, and you're just mad at this guy the whole time, where it's just listen, brother, the thing that you claim that you want is put in front of you, and it is right there, and it's a better life than you could ever possibly imagine, you ding dong. And you go, come with me to my crappy town and go to my crappy job that I hate instead of me coming to this town that, like, bro, you walked into the ideal thing. Like, even he realized it for a second
too. I mean, the scenery in this thing, we haven't really talked about that, but my goodness, the locations are just beautiful. It's shot in a wonderful place.
It's all in and around Seattle. It's 30, like everything was 30 miles from Seattle.
But everything, it looks great. You want to be in that town, and he's just like, hey, come back with me to Seattle. It's like, why would you want to? No.
And the budget on this movie, 700,000, 750,000, I think is what I saw. And man, I think it looks great for a sub $1 million movie.
I would imagine that probably they got Aubrey Plaza for nothing. And Jake Johnson, they probably got him for scale, and probably Colin Trevorrow and his writer and the producers all got points, is my guess.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you could make this movie for $750,000.
And it became the thing that that they hang their hat on and everything. So I mean, the gamble worked off for sure.
Yeah.
But that's it's one of those things that, like, I think so many people don't understand is that, like, if you're not completely stupid and you have like a decent cinematographer, decent sound and everything, you can put out a fairly quality product. You can, like, just, I mean,
this is super high quality.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what but there's movies that spend so much money and just look like people are playing around in their backyard. And it's just like, it's so bad.
I'm a big fan of lower, a little bit smaller budgets. Try not to, try to sell your movie with story and not with, spectacle.
Because
I think that's a big problem that we've run into with, like, the burnout on the superhero movies is how many $250 million films can you go to before you're numb to it all?
Mm-hmm.
I really like the smaller budget. I think it's kind of, I want the people that make the movies to get paid adequately. I'm not saying, pay less or cut corners there, but you don't need $100 million budget on a time travel movie. You don't need $100 million budget on a superhero movie. I like the idea of that can-do attitude, like I talked about last week, probably. I mean,
there's probably less than 10 big CGI shots in this. I'm sure there's a little bit here and there for, that it just happens these days. But like, as far as like big CGI, just shots, there's not many. But like in a show that was all about time travel and stuff, if you'd have given this movie 5 times the budget, you'd have seen 5 times worth of crap on the screen. And you know what? It wouldn't work as well. You wouldn't want it to, because the crux of this is that, we're questioning the entire time whether or not this person is, even sane.
They get 5 times the budget, and next thing you know, they're replacing Mark Duplass with Rob Schneider.
Oh man,
man, Duplass is really good at playing that line. Also, he's really good where he could go either way. I remember feeling that when I first watched the movie. It was like, is he actually crazy or is he for real? And you kind of have to make up your own mind.
He played it so quick too. When Aubrey Plaza at the end of the movie, she's confronting him that Diane or Deborah, whatever the lady's name is, that she's not dead, she's alive, and she just went and talked to him. And without missing a beat, he's like, "That's good. That means we succeeded." Like, man, he just sells it. It's amazing.
Now, like, obviously this is, to a degree and everything, but like, have you guys ever known people that are like kind of like this in a way, that have like this sort of weird drive to do odd things and stuff, and always have a little something cooking, and there's weird stories that they'll always, regale you with?
I don't think I have.
To a degree, I know
value somebody like that.
Yeah, I know some weird guys that are kind of like this, and like they pretend like they might have some scientific knowledge, but you're pretty sure they don't, and just other weird stuff like that. Just people that have like grandiose thoughts and ideas of stuff that either happening, like again, people that think the government is after them, or weird stuff. I know a couple of people like that. They're strange people, but boy, do they exist.
It kind of makes me think of the kid. I mean, kid, he was like maybe 19, 20 by the time he finished, but he started to get a merit badge in Boy Scouts in like nuclear science. Like he just wanted to get his nuclear science merit badge. And he said he was going to build a nuclear reactor in his garage. And everybody's like, this crazy guy is like going around, who knows what he's doing in there. Cause there's no way though he's actually building a nuclear reactor, until all of a sudden the Department of Energy showed up and there is a nuclear reactor in this kid's garage that he managed to build from like salvaged. He bought like used smoke detectors and stuff. Like he was getting his radioactive materials from odd places.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, like, listen,
awesome.
I love crazy stuff like that, but that's what kind of makes this character and how we're presented with this character as well. And if you really look at Mark Duplass's entire career, he actually plays a really good crazy person that can also could be a normal person as well. It has that kind of swings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a lot of the independent things and like Creep, for example, where it's just like,
I enjoyed that movie.
You're very uneasy. Like, well, I just don't. He is so good at dialing that stuff in. And a lot of that comes from that old mumblecore, very naturalistic kind of acting and stuff that those guys were doing, back in the day and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, he has an intensity also, although she says at the beginning of the movie, and I agree with the character. She's like, he's totally harmless. And you kind of feel that throughout the movie, is that no matter how crazy this guy gets, he's still fairly harmless. Even when it comes up later, all of the stuff that he's done in the past.
Yeah.
And even then you're like, oh man, come on, Kenneth.
But then there's also the part of me that's really getting into the movie. And when they talk about the things that came from his past, I think maybe he went back in time, and when he corrected some problems, he had to keep distance. So he behaved as if he were bizarre, but that's part of how he fixed it. So I'm liking the idea that he wasn't really weird, but he did go back in time, and that's how he fixed it, was to like leave that weird legacy behind.
Well, that is how they frame the movie. It's completely up to the viewer. So
I whenever given the option of believing in time travel, I choose that as a viewer.
Nice.
And but I love all the tiny little touches and stuff, like, and again, it's also a lot of the way that a kid thinks, is as I'll but I what other way could you think of? Leave a note in this box. In the future, I will know to go to put a thing in this box to know to come back. And then you open it up. If indeed you were able to do that, you would see that note there. Like, the logic is there, but like the likelihood is not. But I love the dream. I love the dream of, like, is there a note in the box?
Let me ask you guys this. Do you think that it was in the script that the box is in that old truck, or do you think that they just came upon that truck and were like, well, this is a perfect set piece and this is where we'll put the box?
It has to be like just taking advantage of your location,
because that truck with the moss growing on it, and it's just perfect, man. Like, you're never gonna get something like that you make. I would say that's out in the wild.
The only way that's in the script from the beginning is if somebody was already familiar with that location before they wrote the script.
Good point. Another question I got for you is for you specifically, Adam. I know the actress who is playing the editor at the magazine. I know her.
Yes.
I know her from Mr. Show and everything.
Marilyn Rice.
She's on. How do you? That was my question. How do you pronounce the last name?
Rice Cub.
Rice Cub.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Easy to pronounce. How far that actress has come.
Amazing.
From the beginning of her career on, I think Mr. Show was her first show, and now she is the hot femme fatale who's the magazine editor. Like it's kind of, when she used to play just the redneck wife of Ronnie, of the David Cross character Ronnie. Like, it's kind of amazing the transformation that lady, like, she is that case again where, like, oh, with age, you grew into how you look. And she probably got a little bit of work done. Like, She looks amazing in this movie. It's kind of incredible.
She was like, I think she really kind of came into her own in 24 because she was just on that show for so many years and everything. And Chloe was a giant character in that show for sure.
Yeah.
So she just got a lot of reps in, I think, and then just really.
But she was also a main character, not main, but a reoccurring character on Larry Sanders. She's on that show forever too.
So yeah, and again, she comes from stand up and stuff.
Yeah.
So and I saw one of her recent bits on TikTok. Funny stuff, good stuff. Very very good. References some of her material, but all like hey, you maybe know, like some people know me from this, some people know me from this, and then she throws in actual clever jokes, and you're like, oh, not too bad.
So here's another question for you guys: is Jeff Garlin at the time of this movie the biggest star in this movie?
I think so.
I think he might be.
Yeah, star-wise, physical-wise, he's the biggest one that's there for sure.
It's rare. I would have expected that from a Bruce Leslie, not from an Adam Portress.
Listen,
but here we are.
The only reason I say that is because he does not say a line in this movie without his mouth chock-a-block full of food. If his lines had been sans food in his mouth, perhaps I'd be okay with it. But every single line filled to the brim with food.
And what happened with Jeff Garlin? Like, I heard, he got fired from the Goldbergs or left, mutually agreed to leave the Goldbergs because there were some HR complaints about him being a little handsy. But it's kind of like everybody just sort of forgave him or forgot about that. I don't know that he's canceled or whatever.
It was a wild time. Who knows?
It's also harder to keep that momentum going now because people went so far towards canceling people, where it's like, well, you're canceling people now for saying something that was a joke. Like, let's get past that. So like, we're in this new stage of it now where like you need the reference point. You need like multiple people saying that this person is awful. Like, you need all of those things. Like for instance, look at Shane Gillis on Saturday Night Live, right? So Shane Gillis gets fired from Saturday Night Live. He's on the show now, like as a
guest host,
as a guest host, and I think it's Deadspin. The night before he comes out with the new show, drops the bomb of stuff that he had said on like the exclusive pay for content part of the podcast he's on, and everyone's like, go screw yourself, dude. Like, you literally paid to get through the wall in order to find stuff to kill him for. Like,
they're printing out jokes he told in the 8th grade,
Right. Like, get over yourself. And so when it comes to stuff like that, like, look, I don't know Jeff Garlin. Maybe Jeff Garlin is a monster, but it seems to me like one person's saying something versus, 5 people saying something are two completely different things.
That Chinese food thought he was a monster, boy.
Man, there were so many boxes.
How many boxes? That's like, I'm sitting there just going. I
appreciate a man who knows how to eat.
I have I've had Chinese food on many an occasion, as we all have. You ever have that many boxes, especially for 2 people? No, sirree, Bob, you do not. I'd word.
Like to try it sometime.
I bet you would. I'd try it, but then you'd have Chinese food in your refrigerator for 3 weeks because.
And once again, I don't know the truth of whether he's a good guy or a monster, but I would like to eat Chinese food with Jeff Garlin.
Didn't he make that movie
what was
talking
that
about
special
cheese?
called? I just want someone to eat cheese with.
Yeah.
Isn't that the name of the special?
I think so. I believe that it is. He's good in it, but it was funny for a second. I was like, oh, Jeff Garlin's in this. And like once that scene was over, I was like, we are never seeing him again. You just knew right away. It's like, oh, are you buddies with Colin? Do you live like next door to him or something like that? You run to him at the Y.
They only had him for 2 hours because they paid him just in the Chinese food.
I'm telling
that
you,
was his pay.
That was, they were just like, listen, we got to work through lunch. Jeff, have at. And he's just like, got it. And you're like, I'll say the lines, but I'm just going to continue to shovel this in my face as long as I'm doing it. And Aubrey's just like, he's on his 14th low main. And you're just like, let him have it.
Is he still on Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes. He's in the last season. Yes.
Good.
So actually, now that I'm going through the cast list, I think probably Kristen Bell is the biggest star in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
At the point the movie is made.
2012 Veronica Mars is pretty hot commodity, right?
It-
Isn't that where
it's-
she came from?
Yes, and she's also in Heroes. I mean, like she's a fairly
I
known
did not know
name.
she was in Heroes.
Yes.
Was she? I mean, it's been a long time. I can barely remember that show. All I remember is the one Asian guy screaming all the time.
The guy
Hero.
who has the horn rimmed glasses, who works for the government, who's trying to take down all the heroes. His daughter is played by Kristen Bell.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Nice.
Okay, I remember now. Yeah.
I never watched
Mhm.
Heroes.
That first season's good stuff. If it would have been the
First
only thing
season's a
there,
banger.
you'd have been like, wow, that's one of the great kind of maxi series that we've ever had. And then they just go and ruin it with 2 more seasons.
Yeah, man, that third season where they're in a circus and stuff, get out of here.
They're like, we had this one episode where this seemed like a really cool idea. Now we're just going to milk it. No,
Great
don't.
garbage, that third season.
No,
The second
thank you.
season's not great either, but that third season, it is like I feel bad for people on that show. I watched one episode and I was like, well, I'm never watching this show again.
If I bump into this guy at the deli, I ain't going to know what to say. So I can be like, I didn't see it. So I heard things. I heard things.
Like with most sci-fi shows, though, like you watch a show, you get used to it after a while, where like the first season's great, the second season sucks, the third season sucks, but the fourth season is amazing. Like you just get used to that kind of thing. And so when the second season of Heroes was bad, I was like, well, we'll give it a third season. But watching that first episode of the third season, it was embarrassing.
Yeah, there's a couple of series like that where you're just like, all right, we will try. Let's see again. Maybe we'll just, no, sorry, Bob, this is not where we're going. Let's turn this truck right around.
It's the reason why I'm so glad that the Watchmen series only had one season.
Yes,
Because we're going to go down
definitely.
remembering that as a good show. We're going to be like, you remember how good that Watchmen show was? You remember how they probably would have screwed a season 2? Because
Yeah,
they probably
totally
would
would have.
have been bad. But I wanted to, just because I thought about this earlier, but I think one of the smartest things they did with this movie is have that kind of past love that he's looking for. And I think that gets into what you were saying previously, Sean, about him just kind of feeling like he's not scary. He's not scary because you think in his mind, he's not going after her. He's got another love interest in mind. So his eye is on another prize, not this girl. So you don't feel like she is in immediate danger because this guy may be a little bit loony and he's like, thinking about his 8th grade girlfriend or something,
Yeah. And there's also a feeling that she could probably take him out if need be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The ending. Can we get to the ending?
Please.
So were you guys like, Bruce, this is the first time you watched this movie. Was the ending satisfying to you?
Yes. I found the ending satisfying. However, I would not have had a problem with a more open-ended ending either.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found the ending to be satisfying.
That's good, because it's one of those things where if some people watch it and they're like, "What? I got to do all the work myself." Now I've got to figure out what the ending of this movie is.
You
Get
mean
outta
I
here.
may have to sit with someone and talk about the thing that we just watched and then maybe come to like an idea and thoughts about like life and all other My God, what nerve you have, movie? What nerve?
I watched this movie with Lindsay last night, and it's the first time she'd ever seen it. And so I asked her what she thought about it afterward, and she was like, "It was really cute. I really like this movie. It's really cute."
Something seemed novel about the idea of a boat as a time machine. We've had a car as a time machine. We've had a phone booth as a time machine. Seeing the boat was kind of cool to me.
And I do like the big fan in the back and everything. Obviously, very reminiscent of the Time Machine, which I thought was awesome.
And done on purpose, clearly.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
spinning and all that. Good, it's so good.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun, the movie. But like, it also gives you. It's like, could it be real? And that's one of the best parts about it is that you just kind of it's that magical tale. And I think the reason why he got again that sort of Spielbergy kind of thing. That led to Jurassic Park and all that kind of good stuff. That's where I think a lot of that sort of having the heartfelt story that's got a little bit something extra in it that normal movies like this probably wouldn't actually have. Well, before we get to our final review, we have to find out how this time travel film relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
As Huey Lewis once asked, want to go back in time, Mr. Stallone? This week, I heard a pretty interesting theory on why you didn't win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar back in 2016 for Creed. Because you had won both the Critics' Choice Best Supporting Actor and the Golden Globes Best Supporting Actor for your role as Rocky Balboa. But the reason why you won those awards and not the Oscar is because both the Critics' Choice and Golden Globes are voted on by people who don't have to work with you. That those awards are based solely on performance. But with the Oscars, the voters are people who work within the industry. And over the years, and please keep in mind, I'm not saying you're like this. This is the theory I heard, that every time you yell at an assistant or producer or PA, that goes into your fellow filmmakers' heads. And when it comes time to vote for the Oscar, they remember the time you screamed at the boom operator because he was making direct eye contact with you. So maybe there's such a thing as justice in a world filled with A-type a-holes. But moving on. Joe Landauer is the editor of Safety Not Guaranteed, but he cut his teeth on films by working as the apprentice editor on 1997's Copland. It was his first movie. Yet another movie where people thought you would get nominated for the Oscar, but you did not because your peers vote on the award. Joe Landauer works mostly on small independent films. And if you haven't heard of movies you've never heard of, let me start that part over. And if you haven't noticed, we live in a time where there's so many movies being made that no one's ever heard of. Movies with titles like The Sun Is Also a Star, and The Miseducation of Cameron Post, and Hello, Goodbye, and everything in between. All movies that Joe Landauer has edited. Say what you will about Expendables 4, at least I know that's a movie that exists. A terrible, no good, no one should ever see it movie, but a movie nonetheless. One more thing. In 2002, Joe Landauer worked as the first assistant editor on the movie Signs, a movie that I see some people online these days are saying is underrated. Mr. Stallone, Signs is not underrated. It's perfectly rated. It's an okay movie that at the end, you find yourself asking, seriously, you did that again? You couldn't figure out a way to end a movie differently? Or hell, you've got enough money at this point. Hire somebody to come in and do a rewrite. And it's got Mel Gibson in it, who doesn't ever make you think of other things he's done in real life as you're watching it. And there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone Connection is editor Joe Landauer. I understand if I don't hear from you anytime soon, I beat you up pretty good this week. Almost like, never mind. Your pal, the Hartford Hellion.
Listen, Stallone is out there on social media, everybody. He's on TikTok now, making TikToks. Some of them
he lives in
dubious
Florida
quality. Does he?
Yes, he had announced he was moving to Florida, like just in case we wanted to know.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to get out of my tax bracket, so moving down to Florida, trying to get no income. You dig what I'm saying? We understand.
I'm going to Florida.
Well, let's get down to it. Here at H&P, we have our own patented Robin rating system. That's where we take one of the Robins from comic book history and use that as opposed to stars or letters or any of that crap. Bruce, where does Safety Not Guaranteed fall in the Robin rating system for you?
It's an enjoyable movie. I'm glad that Sean picked this one. It's always nice to see something new that is also good. I'm going to give it a Tim Drake. I mean, it's just nice enjoyability and not a perfect movie, but it's a great movie.
12 years old is a new movie, everybody. Sean?
Tim Drake for me, too. I absolutely love this movie. If you're looking for something different, this is the movie for you. And it scratches an itch that you didn't know you had. Tim Drake.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, this is one of those that's like super cool to see these guys like just as their careers are all starting to kind of take off and everything like that, and to look back at this and be like, hey, this is really where a lot of them kind of started striking it big. And Trevorrow had a big movie that this made a good impact, like you said, there at Sundance and all the other places, and that's what kind of kept that steady rise going. And like you said, he works with Jake again on the Jurassic World films and stuff like that, so he takes his people around and whatnot. So not too shabby. We hear he's crazy though. He may be crazy on set. He may be an insane person. We're not quite sure, but who knows? Sean, or no, wait, let's see. So this wraps up the second week here. Sean's pick for time travel. Bruce, what do we got coming up for next week?
Primer, aka Primer. I don't think anybody but me calls it Primer, but I can't pass up the chance to be a little obnoxious when I can.
No one wants you to be minoxidil at all. Wait a minute,
and it's a $7,000 movie, so I really I'm looking forward to talking about that.
It's been a minute since I've seen the movie, so I'm interested to go back and see. I do remember scratching my head a lot the first time, going, "What am I watching now? What is this?" So Bruce, I'm sure, will have a very scientific breakdown for us, telling us where they went right and where they went wrong. Him being the scientist amongst this group, of course.
Primer is 100% medically accurate, just like Human Centipede.
Precisely. You just go where the science is, people. It's just pure science. That is it, everybody. Join us next. Let's just, hey, Sean, plug something, and then we'll get the heck out of here.
We got a show called 30 Questions where not each week, but when we're on doing that show, we ask 30 questions of some nerdy property.
When we're doing that show, we're there. But we're not there now. But when we are,
just look for
God,
30 questions in your podcatcher of choice. It'll show up.
We're the only people out there doing 30. Everybody said 25. We said no. Straight to 30.
That's how we give value for value.
Damn right. You see us next week,
everybody.
It's
been a long time since someone dusted off that chestnut.
Yes, sir. Join us next week, everybody, when we're talking Primer from 2004, which ironically not available on Amazon Prime. Is just a regular streaming thing. A little cheesed about that, but we'll get into that next week. For the Hartford Helly and Sweet Sean to go back from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Porches. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.